Jeff in Pennsylvania. Jeff, you're live with Eric and V. What would you like to talk about? Hi.
What's up, Eric? What's up, Eric?
Hello.
V.
Hello.
It's your buddy Jeff from Philly.
Hey, Jeff. Long time no talk.
Hey, what's that? Yeah, man. I don't know what the screener put on your thing in front of you, but I always call with pretty much the same topic, which is faith.
What we have is faith is inescapable for everyone.
Yeah, like everybody, it's like nobody can say I don't use faith.
Well, it depends on how you define faith, doesn't it?
Well, it's just trust. It's the thing that when you affirm something is true, you have faith in that thing.
Well,
right? Everybody does that.
Do you remember our definition of faith? Because I've heard the definition said that faith is believing something without evidence, and I know that that's impossible. Okay,
faith can't exist without evidence. Faith can't exist without evidence. That's impossible.
Okay, so do you think that there's just enough evidence of a miracle as there is of gravity? Are they all equal in your eyes?
There's levels of evidence. I would agree, but there's always evidence. There's always evidence. That's the point.
Okay, so what's the difference between faith and belief?
There is no difference. That's the same thing.
Okay, so then let's make those words mean different things so we can have a more nuanced conversation. If you're saying everybody believes things, we agree. If you're saying everyone has faith, then we need to agree on definitions and go from there. But if you're just saying everybody believes things, cool. I mean, we're not arguing with you.
Yeah, that's an important, Eric. That's an important thing to really highlight and focus on for a moment. Like, take a moment and just focus on that, because now there's a sentence that I've heard over and over again in a lot of these conversations, like especially from Mr. Dillahunty. He says, "I can believe anything on faith." Now, let's take apart that sentence. I can believe anything.
Let's not strawman people who aren't here.
Right. Well, talk to us. What have we said? Don't bring someone else into it. We don't want to put words in Matt's mouth, and I'm sure you don't either. So let's talk about what we think.
Can I ask you, do you agree with that statement?
Personally, I think that faith is not a very good tool to use, and so I try to avoid believing things purely on faith.
But the reality is, my brother, is none of us can escape that.
You're using a different definition. You're using belief the same way. You're using faith the same way we use belief. So if we don't agree on how we're going to talk to each other, we're going to talk past each other, and this conversation will be useless.
Well, I'm saying, those you don't agree that those are synonyms. Belief and faith are not synonymous.
Colloquially, yes. But if you're having a nuanced conversation the way we are having a nuanced conversation, then either you need to make a distinction or
use one or the other. You can't interchange the two.
Yeah. So if you want to talk about belief, then we'll take the word faith out and just talk about belief.
Okay, let's just talk about belief.
Cool. Do we have a disagreement there?
We all have beliefs.
Yep.
Okay.
Your belief?
When we believe something, now when we believe something, what I'm saying is belief always has evidence. That's why belief is the response to evidence.
So if you... Well,
Here's the thing, though. You can find evidence of some quality to back up almost any belief. I think that's initially what Matt probably was getting at, is if you want to believe something, if you want to have faith in something, you can find some evidence that you can accept that will bolster that belief. Now, the thing is, we want to minimize how much we use faith or belief in this instance as much as possible and be as sure as possible that things are true. So that requires that we need to determine what kinds of evidence are good and what kinds of evidence are less good. So when I say that I don't have belief in your system of your worldview, your religion, whatever it is that you're bringing to the table, it's not saying that I don't think you have any evidence. I'm saying that the evidence that you have provided does not force me, does not convince me to believe what you believe. So you need to bring better evidence. I'm not saying you don't have any. I'm saying that it's not good enough.
I just think it's very important for us to recognize that all of us, when we are confronted with truth, in other words, the evidence for truth, right?
Oh, those are big words. What does that mean? What is the evidence? What is truth in this instance? Is it that which comports to reality?
Truth. Yeah, truth is objective reality, that which comports to reality. Like when we bring evidence for that, all of us have to exercise faith at that point.
Okay, let's stick to belief. If you're saying they're synonyms, then let's stick to belief.
Okay, all of us have to exercise belief at that point.
Okay, so if belief,
that's important. That's important to recognize and realize. Like that's a really big thing to realize that we're in this boat of. And there was I was listening to another conversation you guys I think had probably last week, with regard to subjectivity and objectivity, right? And the brother was trying to bring out how we're all subject to subjectivity, right? We all have our own point of view. So, we're all receiving information in a subjective manner. And because of that, in the end, we all have to exercise belief.
Okay. Do you know how we
can't escape it.
Well, here's the thing. Do you know how we determine which subjective experiences are more likely to be true and which are less likely to be true?
We use our senses and our minds.
We use science. That's how we learn.
Science is other people's testimony. It's other people's senses and their minds, and we hear their testimony, and we receive that by faith, by belief. We believe what they say.
I got you, Jeff. You might want to back off the phone just a little bit. It's starting to
get a little crunchy.
Yeah, when it kind of maxes out its volume, it starts to fuzz, and so it's starting to fuzz. So you might be a little too high on it. No worry, I do that too. So just okay. So
sorry about that.
No, it's all good. So there are a couple of things there that you said that I kind of want to address. Number one. Okay. Is it feels to me, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels to me like you are saying that both of them are equal.
Both of them being?
Both of the things that you accept to be true and the things that I accept to be true are equally true because we accept them to be that way.
No, I'm saying that we are both having to exercise belief.
I don't think we exercise belief.
We're equal. I'm saying we're equally subject to belief is what I'm saying.
So Jeff, I don't think we actually choose our beliefs, and I don't think we exercise beliefs. I think what you accept to be true is entirely dependent on how you are able to decipher the world around you. And if you decipher the world around you and you come to a conclusion, that is what you believe. Not because you chose because you could lie to yourself, right? I could lie to myself and say, Jeff, I believe I can fly like a bird. That would take a lot of work for me, and I wouldn't really believe it. I'd be deceiving myself. So first off, when you're saying you have to practice belief, I don't think you practice or choose your beliefs. What you accept to be true is entirely subject to how you interpret the world around you. Can we agree on that?
I can agree that we interpret those things, and then after we interpret those things, there is another step we take. We choose to believe it.
No, we don't.
Do you choose actively to believe that gravity exists? Do you experience it and then decide whether or not you choose to believe in it?
I experience it, right? I fall down. right?
Mhm.
And we could say that's gravity. That's an experience that I had, right? Now, if someone asks me, do I believe in gravity? Yes, I do. And I have experienced it. Now, have I made a choice? Have I made a choice in this situation? Actually, no. It's almost like what I'm saying about believing. We're subject to that.
Okay, so if we're subject to it and we have to, then we can't make a choice. It's one or the other. It can't be both.
Well, if I'm presented with a set of so-called evidences, right? And I mull them over in my mind and I say, you know what? That makes sense to me. And then I say, you know what? I believe that. Now, that is a choice. Would you agree?
No.
No, because if you are synthesizing, no. If you synthesize the information and that information is compelling enough, you are going to change the way you view the world. Again, like whether or not you believe it. Whether or not you make the choice.
All the information that I got, in other words, all the so-called evidence that either someone told me or I made an experiment, all of that stuff that I got through my senses, right? All of that information is before my mind. And as that is before my mind, I'm telling you, this is where I'm disagreeing with you. I'm telling you that we all look at that and we say, now I believe that.
Jeff, you said something really interesting that both of us kind of cued in on here. And that is, you said it's before your mind. Yeah. If you're processing something without your mind, what are you processing it with?
I never said I was processing something without my mind. I said all of that stuff, I'm getting information.
Your mind gets that information, Jeff. It's at the same time.
Right.
So no, it is not before your mind, which does not make sense. As you're getting the information, it is being processed by your mind. Unless you're talking about information.
For example, let me give you an example, making it a little more clear. So a scientist does an experiment, right? Mm-hmm. He brings that to me. He tells me, look, I did this, that, or the other. And in fact, he even gives me the information that allows me to also do the same experiment that he does. Mm-hmm. All of this stuff that we're talking about is information he gave me. And then also when I do the experiment, my mind is processing the information that I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So when I say before my mind, what I'm saying is my mind is the nexus or the place where.
So we're putting it before your mind, as in like.
I become aware of everything in my mind. I'm aware. That's the subjectivity that the other caller that I was talking about from last week was talking about. That's the subjectivity.
Yeah.
All of us deal with everything from a subjective point of view.
Okay, we seem to be going all over the place here.
And we're going in circles.
Yeah. So here's the thing. From your statement, everyone believes something. Everyone exercises belief about something. The implication there that I'm taking from it, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that this is a bad thing? Or that this is something we should minimize?
It's not. I wouldn't say it's bad. Some people might say it's bad, but it's just it's like the conundrum that I hate to bring Matt into it, but I love Matt. But he's flailing around because that's our lot in life. We must have faith because we don't have absolute knowledge of anything.
Hold on, stop. Wait, pause right there. Hold on. I'm planting my flag on this hill. So it is not binary. In your example, when somebody was bringing you this evidence and talking about this experiment, as you were listening to it, you would have been assigning a confidence value to it. How confident are you? Is it less likely to be true? Is maybe 50-50? Is it more likely to be true? And as your confidence rises, that's where your assessment about whether or not it is true comes in. Right. Yes, we are stuck being subjective, right? You are limited to your senses. I'm limited to my senses. And when we want to talk about objective things, it's because we agreed on the objective or we have defined it as such. That's when we can get to deductive arguments. We can totally do that. But what you're talking about, the subjective experience, is something that we're both dealing with. And so the fact that you're saying, well, it's your subjective and my subjective, I think that's a red herring. I think it's trying to throw the baby out with the bathwater, and I don't like that, man. And I'll tell you why. Because it doesn't matter, right? We're doing our best to understand the world around us. That does not make your belief and my belief equal. I can believe something batshit crazy, Jeff. In my subjective experience,
I'm not saying, you're misunderstanding me. I'm not saying that what we believe is, I'm not saying that what we each would believe is equal. With the equality that I'm pointing out, and I think is very important in all of these discussions, is that we both. What we both.
If you're gonna say the same thing again, no, it's belief. If you want, if that's all you want to say is that you believe things and I believe things, then I think that might be as far as this call goes. But if you are going to force your definition on us, and then try and expect that maybe every time we use the word faith, we're using your definition, then that's a dishonest tactic because you're not actively listening to us and meeting us where we are. And that's not okay.
Okay, I'm not trying to force anything. I'm trying to get an understanding. I told you guys before, I'm not about the obfuscation, and the whole point of these conversations is so that we both come to an understanding. So I'm not trying to bogart you, but I am trying to, when you quickly say, okay, well, if I'm just saying the same thing over and over, and you're saying the point that I'm making is irrelevant and it's non-consequential, I want you to pause for a moment. I'm begging you, please, both of you, to pause for a moment and realize that what I'm saying isn't inconsequential, because it's very important to realize that if it's true that all of us, no matter what thing that we ultimately affirm as being true, we still have to cross the bridge of faith. In other words, belief. We have to believe it.
Okay,
we can't say that we don't believe it. That's not true. That's being intellectually dishonest to say that we're not believing.
No one said that. We did not ever say that we didn't believe. In fact, we were willing to meet you there and say, yes, everyone believes things. Everyone has belief about things. Here's the difference. Here is where we're coming from. That is different. You are saying, well, everyone has some form of faith. Everyone has some form of belief. Therefore, everyone is kind of subject to it. And I'm agreeing with you. I'm an agnostic. I don't think that anything is 100% provable to be absolutely objectively true. That said, I view faith or belief, or whatever word you want to use to describe it, as something to minimize. It's like saying you should stop eating high fructose corn syrup, right? Everyone does it. So that means that I can justify eating large amounts of junk food. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, hey, if everybody is going to eat it, what you can do is try to minimize it as much as possible, even though it's everywhere, even though it's in everything, and it's really hard to get rid of it. What you can do is make a conscious effort to minimize your exposure to it and your absorption of it as much as possible. So that's kind of the place I'm coming from. I agree with you that everyone has belief and faith to some extent. My goal is to minimize how much faith I'm using in order to make sure that I am looking at the world as objectively as possible. Does that make sense?
I'm totally with you. But what I'm saying is, it's impossible for us to eliminate it.
Okay,
that's important to realize.
You've said it many times. We heard you. We're trying to take the conversation further, but I don't know if that's something you want to do.
I want to say that I love both of you guys, as I told you before.
Don't worry.
I know you don't want to hear. I didn't want to hear that, right? It's like
no. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, Jeff. I'll tell you. No, hold on. I came from a church that was very, very loving and did that, and over time, I wind up finding out that was a tool that a good number of people used to guilt and shame and hurt. And while that is, I'm assuming that is not your goal, I hope you understand that it can rub you the wrong way, but we're trying to be as charitable as we can. So if you say you love us, awesome. Thank you, man. Send love right back at you. Okay?
Well, fake love makes you mad, right? And it makes me mad too, because it's fake. It ain't real. You know what I mean? I understand what you're saying.
We're going to hop over to the next call.
So
Take it easy, man. Jeff, actually, as an afterthought, and I'm not trying to. I hope you're watching right now. Next time you call in about a different subject.
Or we can move on from where we landed today, which is,
Yes.
hey, we agree that everyone has an amount of belief or faith that they exercise. The goal is to minimize that as much as possible. You seem to agree with that, so let's move on from there. If we are going to minimize how much faith we're using in any given situation, why is your belief system grandfathered into that?
Yeah, but if you're calling in just to make the same point over and over, we have other people we can talk to, and we would like to have variety in this show. So we're going to go from there.